My guest today is Dr. Bryan Dyer, editor extraordinaire at Baker Academic. He's recently published his fine dissertation on suffering in the book of Hebrews. I've worked closely with Bryan for several years, and I love hanging out with him, as you'll see in this episode.
Cars, coffee, theology.
What was your first car?
My first car was a Mercury Sable.
Oh my. Not even a Ford Taurus, a Mercury Sable, right?
Sable.
The knockoff of the Ford
Yep.
Taurus. Okay.
Yep.
And how did that work out for you?
It was fine. I bought it from my girlfriend's parents.
Okay.
For like
Girlfriend
$500
that's now wife, or
No.
Okay, so
No.
that the
No.
Sable was the deal breaker on the relationship.
Yep.
You sell me a Sable, that's it.
Yep. And I do you give your car names?
Yeah.
I named that one Toby
Toby.
after Toby Mac. I told you. DC talk.
So dating yourself there. So
Yeah.
what year are we talking?
Yeah. Late 90s.
And did you name it ironically Toby, or that was like you were totally into Toby Mac?
I hope so.
Your first car was a Sable. And how long did that relationship last? The girl or
Yeah.
the Sable?
You know, I think I had it. I think I had that car through college.
But not the
think.
girlfriend.
I think that also ended in college. That I was older than her, so
Okay.
she was still in high school and I went off to college.
All right, that never works. And maybe the Sable kind of set your expectations low to have old cars that you could just drive.
I
till
just
they
thought
die.
that's what you did.
Right. That was your
Yeah.
whole Weltanschauung of autos. All right. Okay. Well, that's good.
Theologians in your car
In my car.
eating kombucha.
That'll be the.
The millennial. And avocado and toast. Did you buy this car because of the 8-ball on the stick
No,
shift,
I added
or-
that, dude. Is that not the coolest thing? I just
or
added
did
that.
you add it yourself?
Are you judging my 8-ball?
I couldn't even get through the question. It spins.
That's
I don't know if everyone can see, but
no. Well, believe me, we'll take another shot of it. Don't
it
worry.
spins. It's fine.
Well, it's not supposed to spin. It actually comes off, but
okay.
there's no. It turns out there's no threading, and but then I thought, wow, that's very cool.
So my car is this as well. Are you able to fix this, or is it just?
I don't know.
It's just you have every right to be defensive.
No,
I
that was that defensive.
I knocked the 8-ball.
Oh, so you were knocking it. See, I thought you were just being playful, but you were knocking. Okay, it's good to know. Actually, what I wanted to ask you about
Yep.
is your dissertation that became an LNTS volume.
Yeah.
I mean, I know your wife doesn't care, and probably most of your friends don't either. So this is your chance to. Well, that wasn't tit for tat for the 8-ball. That was a general understanding of PhD dissertations. I'll retract that. Okay, we'll strike that from the record.
Yeah, no,
I'm sure not every day you get a chance to talk about your dissertation. But I would love to hear about it.
Well,
And I mean by that, this thing I happen to have
I
right
think-
here.
Oh my goodness.
All right, look at that.
My question was going to be, have you had a chance to look at it?
No, but I did read the subtitle,
Yep.
and that's the first question I want to ask
Oh,
about
okay.
it. What the heck is context of situation? When I read that, I said to myself and to some other people, that's not anything. I think that's a typo. And then I read a little bit, and it said it was actually a methodology. I thought, okay, I'm sorry. I've already spoken too much. Please tell me what context of situation is.
Let me back up a little bit.
Okay, please.
And first say, and you can edit this out, but first say, Anna, my wife, may be tired of me talking about it, but at one time she was interested.
Okay,
and
that's
she
good.
actually-
We'll keep that in there. Yeah,
She's
that's
she's a librarian, was an English major, and she read the whole thing and gave me feedback. But,
Oh, that is.
I don't know if you had. My mom also read the whole thing before I handed it in and gave me similar kind of feedback, and I don't know if you did that as well. Had family
no,
members
why,
read it.
why don't we, while we're there, why don't we talk about your relationship with your mom?
Are you serious? Are you joking?
Hey man, we can call it, the T can be theologians, it can be therapists. Therapists
No,
my car.
that's fine. We'd be happy to. But let me address context of situation.
Please do. Please.
Because
Please.
I actually worried about what people would think when they read that and whether they would think it was a typo.
Like situation of context, that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah,
But I did withhold judgment. I'm sure there's a good reason.
I think on the dissertation, when I handed that in, it was, do you have the book?
Yeah. I happen to have it right here.
It's the same title, Suffering in the Face of Death, but it was, I think the dissertation subtitle was The Epistle to the Hebrews, and it's...
Oh, there's a change from the dissertation.
In its social context, I think is what.
Okay, well that language makes sense to me. Social context.
I thought, the issue or the idea of context of situation, it's very in-house. It's
what house?
It's a linguistic.
I've never seen that house. What house is that?
It's a linguistic concept that if you were familiar with it, you would
Right.
pick up on it.
It triggers a certain,
Yeah, so I liked that. I thought
that makes sense.
that if you knew what it was, you would kind of see it's going to have kind of that linguistic methodology. But that's 2% of New Testament.
I mean, what house is it? I mean, honestly, is it something like? No, I'm not joking. I mean, is it in a cognitive linguistics realm, metaphor theory? I mean, I think of like Umberto Eco and encyclopedic context. Is that kind of what it means, or something different?
Well, I think I'm not as familiar with Eco, but I think Eco would be how these linguists would talk about context generally, but then they would divide context into two different issues. I should read my methodology chapter to make sure I get this right. But they would talk about the cultural context. Is that the right phrase? The cultural context, and then the context of situation.
Okay, yeah, so I guess that's
we're
a failure
getting
on
there.
my part of context. Yeah,
So we're getting there. So when we talk about the cultural context, we're talking about, so I guess we're talking about Hebrews. That would be understanding the Hellenistic background, the Judaism in the first century, that type of cultural context, which would bring some light to how we interpret these ancient texts.
Yeah.
And that is not necessarily specific to this one writing. That is more kind of cultural to the time period and the area, if that makes sense.
Yep.
The context of situation is more specific to what is happening within this specific writing.
Okay.
And so
I believe now. Now I understand.
What I'm trying to argue, and by using that more precise term, is that I'm trying to get at what I think is the social, I'll just use social context that I think the author is responding to or addressing. What is going on that the author is trying to address? So you raise a good point. I feel like if you're in these conversations, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, that makes sense, though. I mean, you are writing a technical academic piece. So.
You just need me standing by the book every time somebody picks up to say, okay, so here's what I mean by context.
Or maybe they could add like a little yellow starburst sticker on the front that explains context. If you could choose a number between 1 and 225, what would it be?
You're going to say 1 and 2.
One and choose, yeah.
1 and 2, 125?
Yeah, 100 to 225.
I pick 224.
Okay, so if you'd open to page 224
Oh, blurg.
and read the second paragraph there for me.
Yep.
I hope there's 224 pages.
No.
Oh, crap. Okay.
So I'll pick another one.
All right, I'll let you choose. I'll choose 103.
103.
I didn't look at that.
So the author intends his audience. The author offers his audience a new way to understand their hardships, as he encourages enduring them as divine paideia, 12:7. Two contexts emerge. Context again. Playing off of the various meanings of paideia for how the audience is to understand their hardships. Parental discipline in verses 5 through 10, and athletic training in 11 through 13. The quotation from Proverbs 3 and 12:5 through 6, and athletic training. Oh, this is where we got to do it.
This thing needs to be edited.
Yeah, I know.
Just kidding.
The quotation from Proverbs 3 and 12:5 through 6 introduces the idea of divine discipline, understood as God acting as a father would to his children. After encouraging his audience to understand their hardships as paideia, the author presents discipline as validation of their father-child relationship with God, and then makes the same point by affirming the negative equivalent in verse 8.
Okay.
Is that
Yeah, I mean, you had me at Paideia. You know that.
You may appreciate this. He's an
I
unlike.
will appreciate. I do appreciate
This
this.
isn't unlike kind of what you were talking about in the Sermon on the Mount book, where
Yeah.
you've got kind of the Hellenistic, Greco-Roman thinking of Paideia
Totally.
as athletic imagery and training, and so that certainly makes sense within this context. This comes right after the passage about, the great cloud of witnesses, the presenting the audience within the Colosseum, and the running imagery.
So those scripts are going to run for almost any year. I mean, it'd be hard to avoid that, right?
Yeah. So you've got that notion, athletic imagery, training, but then he also quotes from Proverbs 3, which talks about parental discipline.
Yeah.
And that they are to view their hardship in that light.
Father-son.
Yeah, father-son.
Yep.
And that's also really interesting. So you've got kind of this parental discipline notion of Paideia, and you've got even kind of education you can put in there. But then you've got this athletic imagery of Paideia.
And it's not an either or, I suppose, part of your argument.
No,
right? I mean,
yeah, it's that both are there. Now, what's interesting there, Jonathan, maybe you'll think this is interesting. This is kind of the
Is there a reason
theological
to use my name? Is this, am I in trouble, or what's going on here?
emphasis. We can talk about the linguistic prominence that I'm giving to this part that I'm saying now by saying your name.
Absolutely, I'm on.
And this is, I don't really get into much theological reflection, but this is kind of the issue that I think would be really interesting, is what the author is arguing with the whole thing about parent-child relationships. Is he's saying identify your hardships or treat them or understand them as Paideia, and then quotes from Proverbs, talks about parental discipline, as any good parent disciplines their child for their own benefit. And it says, if that's true about earthly parents, how much more true is it about our Heavenly Father?
Ding, 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 Sermon on the Mount comes home to roost.
Yeah. But then, so it almost goes as far as saying, and I think it actually does pretty much say this, it makes the point about, true sons are those that are disciplined, and that, implied respond to their discipline appropriately. It's illegitimate sons or illegitimate children who are not disciplined. It makes this point after quoting from the Proverbs. Mm-hmm. And so I think what the author is trying to do is, I think they were already experiencing suffering and hardship, which is what I'm trying to argue, that's the best way to make sense of this. And the author is saying that suffering that you're experiencing is not a sign that God has abandoned you. It's not a sign that you're not, a true child, or but it's actually a sign that you are a child of God. It's the true sons are those that experience the discipline.
I don't know if you paid attention, but it's actually in the Library of Congress in BT 702, I think it is, or something, which is the classification of suffering, not of Hebrews. Did you know that? I'm just curious. I mean, who knows how they decide those things exactly, but it's not with other Hebrews monographs. It's actually it's not in the whatever BS 28 or whatever. Not BS.
Really?
I just happen to know BS 2575 is Matthew. We spent a lot of years in that. I don't know what the
Wait.
In the Library of Congress, it's in BT 702, which is with all these other suffering books. It's not in the Hebrew books. So nobody's ever going to find it, man. That's the point. So.
What do you mean? Okay.
Are you disturbed by this? It seemed like a major...
So does this mean...
No one's ever seen it. I mean, I found it. It was like buried under a bunch of old stuff in a throwaway pile. It was weird.
All right. I mean, that makes sense because I made fun of the 8-ball thing, but that you would try to hurt my feelings like this. But so you're telling... Does that dictate for all libraries?
Well, it's the Library of Congress.
Yeah, but I know.
Yeah. It's Congress, man. They rule.
Your
wife's a librarian. What are you talking about?
Librarian, and she's like cringing right now. So that means every theological library, it's going to be in BT and not BS.
Exactly. It's B, which is, I guess, in some sense good. It's not in BS. So that's good. But it's BT.
I have a degree, MA in BS.
Exactly. It's a B. Yeah, I think it's BT 702.
That's unfortunate because it's.
I wonder if you could apply for reclassification. I mean, somebody decided that. I mean, it's some.
It's a Hebrew
robot at Amazon probably deciding it.
It's a Hebrew monogram. Is it the publisher? I should know this. I'm the publisher.
I wasn't going to bring it up. Yeah,
That's really unfortunate. I want it.
No, it's okay.
I want it with the Hebrews.
Well, I mean, I guess for browsing, but I mean, if somebody's doing a database search, it does have Hebrews in the title.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's only for the rare bird like myself who likes to actually walk in the library stacks and serendipitously find things.
I mean, I get it. It's called suffering in the face of death, so it sounds.
You wouldn't want it to all go well. I thought you were referencing the title. You should experience suffering in this situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's probably what happened. Is this? So maybe it wasn't the publisher. I mean, because you think the publisher would be sensitive to putting it in the Hebrew section.
Well,
I mean, after all, it was in a New
It's
Testament
a New
series,
Testament
right?
monograph series.
So I wonder. Yeah, that's a curiosity. How does the LC determine it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Well, that's good. So what are you working on now? The Synoptics book? Yeah. Oh yeah. What is it? BT 732. I was there.
732.
Yeah. It was even on a different floor, not to add to the discouragement. Our holdings go on the second floor through the whole BS line, and of course we have a lot in the BS classification. I had to go to the third floor, find the BT section, and there it was. It's okay, man. It'll be all right.
I'm trying to figure out if they.
It's part of the suffering.
If they
Receive
did
this as idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What else do you want to talk about?
This thing's over. You got nothing else.
Take me home.
I'm just driving you straight back to Michigan.
Yeah.
No dinner, no nothing. All right.
What else am I working on?
Yeah.
And so I've been talking about wanting to do another monograph on the humanity of Jesus in Hebrews and the significance of his humanity. And
For sure.
I have just kind of a sketch. I know there's been work done. I don't know that there's been kind of a technical monograph on
Yeah.
the humanity of Jesus. And I'm not talking about like the historical Jesus.
No, I get it. Yeah.
But-
Well, I think in the Paideia human development sense, that's very interesting. In fact, I can't remember. I'll send you an article. It's in the Festschrift for Talbert, which
Okay.
understandably,
Yeah.
somebody at Baylor wrote a really good essay that I've used in
Yeah.
some
Is
lectures.
it Whitlark? Jason Whitlark?
It might be. Is that right?
Yeah.
So you're probably familiar.
Well,
Sorry,
I
what
don't
am
know that,
I don't know
but-
anybody relative
But
to
he's
you,
a good Hebrew scholar at Baylor.
Yeah.
Um,
I think and it's kind of on human development within it, which I
Interesting.
find very
Yeah.
fascinating for my own virtue work and
Yeah.
things like that too.
Well, this would be. I mean, the one thing that I noticed. So this is the thing that kind of piques my interest. Is it seems as if the author spends a lot of time making the case that Jesus was a human being, and and that fact has implications for a lot of his argument. There's different parts of his argument that he makes where it's important for him to remind his audience of Jesus' humanity. And so the big question that I find interesting is where in kind of the theological development of the early church would you place a text that you would assume it's arguing for the divinity of Jesus? That,
All right, we go to Christology always, it seems, yeah.
That the humanity was just assumed, doesn't need to be argued, but it almost seems flipped in Hebrews where the divinity isn't really, I mean, it's an issue obviously, but it's not one that needs to be as rigorously presented as his humanity. And it's important for a whole list of different things. He develops Jesus' humanity for his qualification to be a high priest, for his qualification for being a merciful high priest. And then what I'm getting into now, and this is in conversation with David Moffat. If you,
Dave and I were at Trinity
Oh, yeah.
together and go way back.
He did a lot of good work on this. Of
course,
in Hebrews 1 and 2 especially,
Yep.
which is talking about the comparison between the angels and Jesus. And he argues that really that's a distinction between, I don't know if he would say nature, but that angels are spirits and that the Son is a human. And then that goes into chapter 2 where he develops this further and really establishes Jesus' humanity. Now David would go on and argue that the humanity is what sets Jesus apart from the angels. What allows him to be exalted to the heavenly throne, seated next to God. And it's what allows him to enter into the heavenly sanctuary where he offers...
Which is crucial to David's whole argument.
His
right?
blood and his
Right.
indestructible life.
Right.
And so he says humanity is so important at the very beginning for establishing his ability to enter into the heavenly realm. These quotes from the Psalms that no angel, what angel did God ever say?
Well, we usually read those Christologically on the divine side of it. You're saying, okay, that's helpful.
He's arguing for kind of for anthropological interpretation. He would also say Christology.
Right.
But anyway, so reading that as well, so there's a whole thing going on there. There's stuff with the high priest. What I did in my monograph is really exploring Jesus as an exemplar. And so there he establishes that for Jesus to be an exemplar for the audience, it's important to, he's a human just like
Which
you
is
and
crucial
me.
to the Greco-Roman and Jewish wisdom.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah. Oh my, what is this?
choose your color, choose your poison. Random questions, I don't know which is in which one.
Yep.
I will commit to also answering the question.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I'm going to pick black. So we're going to address who are some of your heroes in real life. So not superheroes.
I guess that's true.
For
Yeah.
real life.
And, again, if heroes is too strong of a word, we can go with exemplars.
That's fine. Exemplars. I think on a personal basis, I think family, I think we were going to talk about mom issues.
Oh, yeah.
But I think...
Feel free to bring up the mom issues.
I think I would say my mom is an exemplar or a hero.
Really?
To a certain degree. I think, to a great degree as far as person of faith, facing adversity, all types of different things where I would look to her as somebody that
Adversity,
I
like
would
reading
model
through
after.
dissertations, that kind of stuff,
She
and
would
other
read-
stuff. Right?
She would read my dissertation. About 12 years ago was in an accident, and I was wheelchair bound.
That's right. We talked about that. Yeah.
And so just kind of the adversity there, but certainly just I think somebody that responded to that. In a real way, in a way that, but in a way of struggling with theological issues as she's dealing with that, but also kind of this, what does this mean for our family, for her relationship with my dad, those types of things.
Yeah.
And growing up, it was Cal Ripken, but that's a whole nother thing. That was just boyhood.
I was hoping Toby Mac would make one more appearance, but I guess not.
Yeah. But what comes to mind to you? Hero, again, is pretty strong, but somebody that maybe modeled.
It's just kind of a meta reflection that we don't really like that word hero anymore. What does that mean?
That's true.
There's this, it's certainly a turn in literature, in novels, for example, is that you have anti-heroes now.
Mm-hmm.
Like you rarely have, well, not rarely, but in a lot of current literature, I think like Barbara Kingsolver and others, it's all anti-heroes.
Television, right?
Yeah, that's
all
right.
anti-heroes.
Which is an interesting sort of cultural comment as well, but hence both of our somewhat adverse reactions to that word. I'll go with my mom too, not just because you kind of one-upped me, but my mom is 88, and the love of her life died 46 years ago when I was 2 years old.
Oh, wow.
My father died suddenly, no illness, just fell over and died of an aneurysm. And her life was devastated. She had to go back to work, and she raised my two older sisters and me. And we just entered a new phase because my sisters and I, who live far away, convened in my hometown to pack up all my mom's stuff and move her in with my oldest sister because she fell and broke her hip and can't live alone anymore. So really a new phase of life, and we spent 3 days sorting through all her art and all her poetry and all the things she's written and produced over the years, and we were all just amazed at who she is, I think, in a new layer. And her big refrain for her whole life was, there's always something to be thankful for.
Yeah.
She's not a woman of great faith, but she is a woman of perseverance and studied intentionality to be a
That's cool.
good person.
It's kind of a cool thought as far as when one day my kids are going through my stuff.
Yeah. Very sobering.
What is that gonna?
What are they going to take from it?
Yeah. What are they gonna take from it?
Yeah. Well, dude, it's been great.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. And,
Thanks. Good conversation.
Absolutely.
Thanks
And
for
maybe
the
we'll see you.
kombucha.
Yeah. Quill's Kombucha.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. 3 really quick things. If you like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel and connect with us on social media. We'd really appreciate it. Secondly, check out the comment section below. We've put a bunch of program notes and links to interesting things there. And third, check out some of our episodes you can see linked here. Thanks. We'll see you on the road. Peace.